It's the weekly 30-30 trading list on the ASX. We're reviewing the 30 best momentum companies over the last quarter and those that have had the best improvement in the last week. Gary Glover has been through the list of both top 30 companies, Momentum and Launchpad, and he's here to tell us where the best charts are, what we can learn from them, and some insights on the market. Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Chris.
So Friday, we've come back from the Easter weekend. Looking back at this list, the top 30 momentum stocks, we've got Mesoblast on here. That's one that you've traded in and out of a bit over the years. Is that in one of the top 30 momentum companies?
Yeah, it's at the moment. Yeah, it's not one that I've traded the last week, unfortunately. But yeah, no, it's one that I sort of have followed the fortunes of there. Interesting company, Mesoblast, because really they've done so many raisings here. It's raised so much money over the years that it's really, so many more shares on issue now. So that in theory makes it hard to sort of thrive there. But if you understand what Mesoblast have been doing is that they've been putting stakes in the ground all through the stem cell field. So they're not having to focus their one area. They put a stake here, stake there. We want to be, tummy, the back, the legs, every orifice of the body. We want a stake there. So that comes with a lot of money. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because that was just an FDA, I guess jump here, not approval. So it was just a tweak in the right direction there. So yeah.
Well, I noticed it's on YouTube, somebody commented after you talked about Mesoblast that they're due for a capital raise soon if they've just rallied. Thought that was quite funny because it's been their history for a few years, hasn't it? Lots of capital raising to fund that expansion into different parts of the body.
Yeah, that's right. Look, it's had a big jump here. Look, I mean, it's not been FDA approved. It's obviously just FDA giving them some positive feedback there on a remission, I think, a resubmission. So some positive there. But yeah, look, it'd be interesting coming to watch it. Definitely some big volume in that drive there. So probably want to keep an eye on this one there. But yeah, it's I mean, look, a lot of good judges were talking about stem cells years ago being, new frontier, but 3 or 4 or 5 years of probably time, not much has happened in there. So, but there's stuff to say it can't be, new frontier moving forward here. But probably just one to keep an eye on here at the moment. There will be plenty of sellers there. People who have sort of what they think a lot higher there. So it will draw some sellers along the way here. Number 3 on the list was MAG. A little bit of a BCP in there, Chris. We had that little pop there, good volume. Did pull back there, had the 1 day of selling, a bit lighter here. Some okay volume up, and then the whole thing tightened up here, that little tightening up. There's a little David Ryan tightening up underneath the high, and then we'll pop through there. So still looks okay here, but probably too small for me. But definitely seeing lots of activity in commodities, Chris. I was sort of saying like clients earlier in the week there that felt like the US market was looking pretty tired. The NASDAQ in particular had really sort of struggled to push on and was sort of rounding over. And if you look at, Tesla, Apple actually been heading down for quite a while. Even Nvidia was actually starting to weaken as well. If you want to actually see a good lesson there, Nvidia there, which has been pretty strong, had been sitting above the 20 the whole time. And then you saw the last few sessions there, it got under the 20. Spent a couple of days trying to break back above and couldn't break. And then what's happened here is this little waterfall there last night. So just a good lesson there that obviously once they sort of struck, that Kalamagi talks about this, the strongest momentum stocks, if they're really vertical, that they're hugging the 10. And if they're pretty strong, they're hugging the 20. And then once they start to break those, I mean, anyone who was long Nvidia and it broke the 20 here, they should have been out of some of it. That's not a good sign there. So, the NASDAQ sort of breaking down, but the NASDAQ's looking pretty weak. The one thing we're seeing pop here all week, Chris, is commodities. So even like last night, we saw this, like zinc was up like 4.5% last night. We're seeing silver, big moves. Our silver's following gold. There was a few silver names on the list as well in here. Obviously some gold names. some uranium names in there as well. So they're all pretty hot here. Oil price, energy is pretty hot. Apart from Woodside, most of the stocks in that sector are pretty hot. So just seeing heaps of commodity stocks there. So me personally, I think I'm only long one industrial at the moment, Chris. I'm long pretty much, 70% or probably long about 75% sort of commodities. Yeah, and I got a short Nasdaq position on as a bit of a hedge there, which obviously kicked into gear last night. But yeah, still pretty comfortable with some of my commodity plays. They still look pretty strong here, even though the markets look like the market might be rolling off here. But yeah, I think commodities definitely lots of heat in there, lots of even the launch pad there, lots of stocks still in there. So I think commodities might be the place to be sort of to be playing here. MMC is mining there. Had a bit of I just go back a bit here. I guess this sort of had a bit of a cup and handle in here, sort of a bit of a giveaway here. Once you started to see that volume's come through there. I think if you roll that out a little bit further there, you would have sort of seen this as sort of had a bit of a correction there, but it stayed pretty tight. And then look at the volume that's sort of coming here as well. Started to push up the, once it was sort of broken through here, it's really, that volume is a bit of a giveaway there, come through there. So when the sort of, starting to go back to old highs there, break the sort of B wave, but even though it sort of did push through here on this day, and then it sort of chopped back, which would have been a bit of a concern there, but then we just saw volume dry up again, so not those selling follow through here. So, and then you get the 1 day up volume. That's when you're going to be right, So, but yeah, still seeing lots of activity in some of these sort of commodity names as well. FND, this thing's still taunting me, still going higher. So, pretty amazing. The PAA we spoke about previously there, I did like that price bar, but I guess it was just a one big bar there. Did sort of tighten up a little bit here. We talked about this last week here, how the whole thing had tightened up here and the selling had dried up here. So that was giving it some positivity there. I don't know, I noticed that the PAAO options were looking pretty good. There was a lot of activity in those as well. So that was looking pretty positive there. But yeah, this still looks okay here. Just that big selling there does worry me a little bit, but not the worst looking chart there at the moment. Further down the list there, thought Prophecy International was, again, another bit of a messy chart here, similar to the one we sort of highlighted there. We roll out there, you can see how this is sort of like, has sort of been grinding it out here, and then hadn't broken a swing high there, and then all of a sudden get that little B wave break there. So it did sort of break here at 65, and now now we're at sort of 86 or something there. But most importantly, there you saw that break on volume there. So you are, sometimes when you sort of see these sort of base building characteristics there, maybe a 0, 1, 2, 3s or whatever we call it there, but just that sort of sideways action there, and they start to consolidate under the little recent high there. That's what, that's the type of thing we should be looking for there. And then you want to see some volume coming, Chris. That's the killer there, is you want to see that volume sort of start to come in there. That's when it can push through here. So, we did sort of, this was a good sign here, breaking through this little high here. And it's not the most liquid stock here, but did look pretty good on the daily and the weekly time frame as well. TNC was a True North copper. So again, one thing we're seeing here is we're seeing like a lot of these, if you look at a lot of these company spreads, you're seeing a mix in there. So you're seeing, gold, copper, zinc, copper, gold, silver. So seeing a lot of the diversified plays that have been in metals that have probably been underwhelming in the last, but they're all starting to hit up here. So we're seeing aluminium price jump here. So we're seeing AWC have a bit of a spike. We're seeing, silver. Interesting thing about silver, I was actually watching a video this morning on silver, and so silver usually lags gold. But the thing about silver is it's not as heavily traded as gold. So even though it lags gold, it tends to have bigger moves than gold. And so again, gold starts running and then silver will follow. But sometimes the moves on silver can be even bigger and can really move there. So there's not heaps of silver names in the market, unfortunately, as in stock names. But historically, silver can have bigger moves than gold and usually lags, but then ends up having a bigger move than gold later on. So definitely
a great history. I think it was so maybe some viewers can remember when, but the Bunker Hunt brothers wanted the silver market, and that absolutely tore apart from a momentum perspective, and the percentage movements that really outshone the gold market. And it's exactly what you're saying. It's got a phenomenal history, and it can really move.
Yeah. I mean, just look at that. So Lumina's number 19 on this, Chris. Saw that. I mean, that's a sector which was out of favour there, 3 months ago. But the stock started building there, a couple of little BCPs in there, and it started to break through, and it just kept running. So these gold and silver names, they've all started to break out, pop out here and move there. But yes, silver potentially could, there could be a lot more in this move in silver. There's and just looking at some of these, the interesting thing is, I don't know how many times I've shown this a chart probably maybe 24 times here in the last 3 years, which is the table of the best performing sectors in high inflationary environments. And so we talk about the 70s there, we had basically sort of inflation there of sort of 7% there over 8 years. What sectors outperformed there, and obviously the small caps and the growth stocks were underperformed. That's a sector you don't want to be in. So there's been so much confusion from all the small cap guys in the last few years as to why they're underperforming. But history says that's exactly who should be underperforming in a high inflation environment. But the things you're going to be long with in a high inflation environment are energy, the precious metals, and then your commodities are all pretty hot. They go through their up and down phase, but some really big years. And if you look at through the 70s there, we had some years there where 100-200% gains in energy. Had a bit of a cool off for a year, then big gains again. Same with precious metals, some big gains, cool off years, some big gains. Some of the other commodities as well, some big gains and pullbacks there. And then obviously value shares getting paid dividends. If you're going to be basically long in a decade of high inflation, you want to get paid some yield on paying some dividends. So people tend to pay up for that yield. So those are the sectors you want to be long. The sectors that we're all thinking that inflation's done here, but it hasn't really finished. The job hasn't been finished off yet. And there is some concern there. If you look historically, that inflation has got such a strong habit of flashing back again after you get that initial move. Central banks move, then they cool it off, but then take the foot off the throat and it comes back again. And then that's history sort of saying this. So seeing all these commodities go up here, Chris, going nuts here the last month or so, that does put a little bit of strain on inflation as well. So that'll sort of so just think commodities is pretty interesting here. So that's definitely a sector we're looking at. But just look at this AWC chart there. I know it's had a great run here. But it just shows how much these commodities can really get motoring once they're on. AXC I thought was interesting here, number 24, Archer. Had that little VCP in there, had a bit of a push there. It's had a bit of a nice little run here, Chris, but then it's pulled back. And the 1 day is selling here, but so far this is pulled back here, not too much volume coming in. So there's not a ton of selling going on here. That doesn't look so hot here, but not seeing any sort of selling there. So that's definitely one we'll be keeping a close eye on there at the moment, just because it's not sort of giving us the selling here. This is one I missed actually. I was watching CAT previously. Now if you look at the weekly on CAT, you can see here the whole thing was sort of trading on top of this high here and a big sideways move here. And again, we got another, the VCP in there, Chris, got the little congestion there. The whole thing tightened up in here. And then once the little B wave was broken, geez, this has had a nice little move here. So again, relative strength, not sort of selling off here, sitting tighten the range there. Just again, just showing that relative strength across the board there. So no surprise to see once these things break these VCPs and break V waves, they keep on there. So that's one where I did see that one this week and thought, oh, this that's one that sort of gone through to the keeper, unfortunately. But I was long a few other stocks which had done all right, so I can't complain. BML was number 30 on the list. Other metals there. Look, had a bit of a jump here. Just got this just because the last drive there was a bit of volume in the last drive. Has pulled back, maybe made a higher low volume again. Probably too small for me, but just wanted to sort of keep an eye on here just because obviously the metals are in play. Quite corrective, this whole thing on the weekly as well. So there can maybe a possible change of character could be building there. Probably want to see a swing high taken out here first, but just wanted to keep an eye on there. But that was our quarterly.
Over the quarterly, right?
Yeah. So really sort of the Mesa Blast is probably hiding that out in there really. Most of it's metals. So yeah.
I was just looking up in between, you were talking about silver, writing how it did move, and it can outstrip gold. Looking back, they called it Silver Thursday, but the run went from January 79 to January 1980 and increased 713% in the year for a commodity. So it definitely can move around. But you did note there were a few silver companies in that top momentum company, or that top 30. When you look at the launchpad and you're seeing the companies that are really populating the top 30 launchpad this week, are there any themes or anything that's popping out to you, or it's a bit more of a mixed bag than the momentum ones?
Yeah, look, I sort of I couldn't find like a strong single theme in there. I just saw a lot of commodity based in there. So there were a couple of lithium sort of graphite companies in there. There was a couple of silver players in there. There was even like a coal play in there. There was a few mixed there. So the gold, copper, zinc, copper, gold, silver, a couple of little silver plays in there. So just, yeah. Look, you might be able to tell me more there, but I just saw more of a mixed bag, but definitely I'd say 85% in some of those metals that are running at the moment.
Yeah, look, pulling out the top themes, you mentioned silver. There are a fair few constituents in there. Northern Territory miners, which can be a mixed bag. Quite often there's a lot of uranium in that too, but not necessarily this time. Explorers being the smaller capitalized mining companies that aren't actually producing just yet. And then there's also IT goods are fitting in there, and then some of the battery minerals or battery exposed companies. So exactly what you're saying, a bit of lithium, those kind of themes that are still showing up. So when you're looking at the charts of these launchpad companies that have possibly coiled or had a good improvement this week, are there any charts that are standing out to you?
Yeah, look, number one was that BML, which we spoke about. It's had a bit of a jump there. Thought that was sort of interesting there. Thought WA1 was really interesting there, Chris, because I thought this was done personally. Like, this is one of the stocks that just had that amazing run there over the last sort of 12 to 18 months. It's sort of, I think I might have even highlighted this one previously. But I noticed the whole thing there had a little bit of a pullback there. Hovered around the 50, did break just below it, but it has managed to sort of get going again and break higher there. So I thought that's pretty, that's pretty impressive there for a stock which has already had a belter of a run here. It's still hanging on and showing a bit of strength as well. So, I guess it's at this stage, it's still sort of, as much as it's overlapped here, still basically hasn't broken a swing low here yet. So still got high low here. Even though it's sort of not lost its really super strength there. Obviously, it's not sitting on top of the thing when it sort of sat in there, but didn't really sort of go to a new high that are congested there. But I thought that was a surprise to me to see that in there. I thought when I saw this high here and then the last correction back in the range, I thought just presume that's probably finished there. So it's one that sort of continue to show strength there. Thought APX was sort of interesting here. Just it's a sort of stock I've sort of mentioned a few times. It's been pretty disappointing there, but look, had an okay run through here. But then, like a lot of these stocks that are sort of got overhead resistance there. It's like a lot of selling going on there. So you can see here that, once sort of rather, just the way the selling came in here, but just drilling into the data after it sort of come off here, you'd have that little 1 day bounce off the low and a bit of a congestion there. And then yesterday there was a bit of volume in there. I thought, okay, maybe there's some life in the stock after all. So still might be some life in there. Still with a lot of overhead resistance, but we have seen a few stocks with overhead resistance, make some room there. So not the worst looking chart there, but just the fact that they did attract a lot of that selling in there. Once the stock had a decent run, the sellers just came out everywhere. So that's not what you want to see really. But look, maybe have another little run here, but yeah, not the ideal setup there. HGO, thought this is pretty interesting here, just because of all this, Chris. This chunky volume here, big volume coming in here. So this is pretty interesting to me. Yeah, it's a bit of a choppy stock here, up back and forth there, but just that big volume there is pretty interesting there. I think HGO is copper, gold, and silver. So it is in a sector which is catching a lot here. Pretty small sort of company there, but big volume does suggest something, more than just the reacting to the commodity there. Sort of maybe there's something underfoot there. So that's definitely one to keep an eye on there, just because those big volumes and telling us to be watchful there. FGR, first graphene there, just a bit of a small one there. Has run a few times in the past on some volume there, but too small for me. Too risky there. PYC I thought was interesting. Just one to watch there, just because we've had pretty good volume on this last run. Pull back here and just starting to sort of round up again. The whole thing is sort of tightened up here and just broken out here on some good volume there. So that tells me to go and have a look at that, maybe do some more homework on that, and definitely sort of a bit of a change in character. So basically, the whole thing's tightened up, popped out of the range here, had a good run. Now it's pulled back here, got first high and low here. And some okay volume in here as well. So that one's telling me to circle that one there, go and have a look at what's happening there, because that we wanted to keep an eye on. RSH, number 14 there, just starting to sort of break up here. Probably a little small for me as well. It's sort of 3-cent stock, but volumes are up here. There was some volume down, this last low here, but not the worst looking chart there. But again, too small for me. WR1 was number 15 there. Again, just still on a pretty nasty downtrend here, but definitely seen a bit more chunkier volume come in here. And now starting to break through here as well on some good volume as well. So, a little bit of a break here. So this is often the sort of setup here when you run here, pull back and then break through. That's when they can go for a little bit of a run there. That volume is a pretty good sign there as well. So, it's definitely one to keep an eye on. EC8. It's pretty interesting as well. So this is sort of similar, sort of had that bit of a volume in there, rounded off here, made a high low, bit of chunky volume in there, pulled back a lot of volume, starting to see some volume again, broken to a new high again there. So that's definitely one to keep an eye on as well. Just definitely saw some pretty heavy volume at the last low. May have a first high low here, maybe breaking a little B wave here as well. So that's a little small. It's actually making the right type of moves there. So if I'm not mistaken, Black Cat is in that. Is it uranium or gold or something like that from memory? I have looked it up in the past there. It has sort of hit our list a few times recently. Just one to keep an eye on. CUV was pretty interesting, Chris, as well. That's had a pretty good move. Announced the buyback there. Finally had a bit of a jump. Did sort of come back here, made a few little high lows there. Sort of whole thing tightened up there, congested there. Little 0, 1, 2, 3 if we look at a shorter term time frames there. So I did like the sort of setup there. I thought the buyback there was finally the company starting to listen. So I was lucky enough to sort of get a nice little tight position here. Had a pretty good run here. Had a nice move here. So some big volume through here for us as well. So that's pretty good signs there. The big plus for this company is, I think it's Disc Medicine, which is one of its biggest, probably one of the bigger threats for the company in the US. They sort of had a failed trial there a few days back. So sort of trial in the same area as CUV, which basically sort of, these other companies pretty much met sort of shelving there, that part of the business, or that sort of product there. So as a result, like Disc was off about 45-50% in the 2 days, and then obviously CUV it's jumped up 15%. So had a pretty good jump here. So that's pretty good news for the company there. Just change your sort of mindset for the company there, because they've got plenty of cash there. They've sort of got they got like $2.5 million. I think they're only sort of forecast to spend just over $1 million over the next 2 years there. So plenty of extra cash there, and they are making money. They're profitable every year. It's interesting there. If you look at the sort of the numbers there, CUV versus PME, CUV is probably about half the size, but got similar sort of metrics. So I'm not saying it's going to have the same run as PME, but definitely pretty interesting here. And I think that Disc Medical there pulling out there, it takes one of the risks away from the stock here. So wouldn't surprise me to sort of see this continue on here. So I've sort of got a pretty decent posse here now. Pretty good. This is one that's probably chopped me up quite a bit this year. This one definitely has. I've probably took more losses on this stock than any other this year. But keep everything tight, everything within 1% for me risk. So I'm prepared to take a few small losses on the way. But if we get a big move here, this is pretty interesting. So it's some good volume here out of the low here. So some good signs. I know the market's looking a little shaky here, but this is coming a long way here. Some really big volume down the low here. It's just a good signs. And we know once this sort of stock does sort of bottom here, can really catch a light this sort of run here. So I think most of the broker recommendations are around 21, 22. So definitely one to sort of keep an eye on there. I think if it tightens up here on oils again, one to keep an eye on. What else we got in there? So NVX, I know that's another one of those lithium stocks has held on pretty well. EL8, which is uranium name. I did see this. It says little BCP in there. I could pull back it. The only thing with this one, Chris, was that when all the others were firing up, it was kind of lagging here. I did sort of see it around here. Might have been this sort of day here. I thought, everything else is jumping out of the box here. It's a bit of a lag there. I know some of the small ones will catch on there, but everything I know about trade just tells me to, focus on the leaders there. I mean, at the moment, I had a couple of clients ask me about Woodside today. I said, well, the oil price is on fire. I said, Santos and Korea are on fire. Woodside's lagging here. There's just, it must be a reason why it's not, So for me, I just don't want to. History tells me not to sort of buy the laggards. They just, they're the ones that let you down. But the stocks that lead, we know the stocks that lead here are the ones who sort of kick on and keep going here. So, I'm that this taken me 18 years to work this out, but I've eventually got there, and I can't stress that more importantly here. Just don't try and trade the second or third tiers there. It's quite difficult. So, stick with the leaders, stay with the leaders. They're the ones who sort of, shoot the lights out there. We just look at REA and Domain. Just have a look at what's happened there. They're almost identical, that business there. But the share price is totally different there. So, sticks to stay with the leaders. CEL wasn't too bad. There's big lines of volume going through there. So, has broken out of a little bit of a, a little bit of a VCP, a little bit of a tightening band there, a little bit of a B wave break there. Too small for me personally. But not the worst looking chart there. KOB is sort of one that's been building here. Some pretty good volume here again. So there was some pretty good volume on the last drive as well, and some pretty good volume on the previous drive. So sort of one that that's not too bad to me there. Nice sort of trend in place as well here. So much as this was a little bit of a reversal, bit of rejection there, didn't have too much follow through, and so it's still pretty strong trend here. Hasn't broken a swing long here yet, so still pretty robust. That was probably it there. The only other one that I sort of saw, Chris, was just a small one there, was E-Road there. Just because I thought it was a bit of a VCP setting up in there. I just noticed there's some chunky volume come into this one, and a bit of volume there again as well. And it's sort of got that classic sort of, sort of rounding out here now, starting to sort of turn up, and then whole thing sort of tightening up here. So, just some chunky volume coming in here off the last couple of drives. So, yeah, it's a bit hard to trade this one here, but interesting little company as well. But there's a few in there to keep an eye on there. But yeah, interesting market here. I think commodities to me personally, it feels like the safe place to play here. I've got a few shorts on, and then all my longs are mainly commodities. I think CUV is the only industrial that I'm long here, I think, at the moment. So, yeah.
There are really good insights on the charts, the different sectors, focusing on the leaders within that leading theme, sticking with the top tier. Just quickly before we wrap this up, is there any other insights that you want to share with us, or that's a pretty good one to end on?
Yeah, pretty well. And I did have a Larry Height quote there, but it's evaded next. So and would have been just a pretty, no, Larry's pretty, he's a pretty short, sweet type of comment there. But I did find an Ed Sequoia quote there, and the elements of good trading are 1, cutting losses, 2, cutting losses, and 3, cutting losses. If you can follow these rules, you may have a chance. Ed Sequoia. So thought that was a cracker as well. So, it's interesting, Michael. I think I was sort of saying to you earlier that the last couple of weeks have sort of been better for me. I was sort of, as a trader here, we just got to keep trying to, keep moving forward and keep improving. And the day you sort of stop trying to make progress there, you're just going to keep going backwards there. So I sort of, anyone's been following for a while, I know that I've been, working on I feel like I've got my entry sort of down pat, keeping my risk nice and tight, which is, been good at that for a while. I have been selling into a little bit of heat, right? So basically, if I get a move, jump up, and if it has a bit of a spike, I'll sell some into some of that heat. It's the sitting has been a difficult part for me, sitting in there. So I've been trying to refine my rules around sitting, how to, oftentimes I'll get myself to break even. Like if I get a big jump in the stock and it moves, I'll trade some of the heat, and then I'll try and get my stop to break even. So that, then you get a free trade on as well. So you're taking a little bit out, you get a free trade on. And if you scaled into it, you build a big position on there, so you can't let that run into a loss as well. So a couple of times recently, I've actually scaled into things, scalp pop, sold some, come back. They've actually knocked me out of some of my trades, but I followed my process quite nicely, and that's pretty good. But when I was reviewing a lot of the trades first, I was just trading far too much, Chris. And when you get trading too many positions there as well, that's just not what you want to be doing. You can become distracted from the main game. And I sort of noticed that I was like, some of the goals here is a great example. I've got into some of those, had a bit of a pop, trade some in the heat. Some of the others sort of all of a sudden started to fade, so I trimmed some of those, and then I didn't like the look of them. Traded the last bit. They've had a pullback, but then they've reset again, and I haven't come back in again. So really, those are trades identified showed relative strength, but haven't sort of come back in again. So sometimes maybe you just got to trade some of it and have a process there around, whether that's like the 20-day moving average and stuff. That's things that I've sort of tried to work on the last couple of weeks, is trying to stay in that position. So I've been scanning a lot less. So what I mean by that is, instead of looking every day for new positions, I've done my weekly work, I've done my midweek work. I'm trying not to keep looking, keep scanning, just focus. If I've got good setups in front of me that I've done all the work on there and they're there, just try and focus on those. So feel like I've got some good positions on at the moment, try not to look too far. You know, I know you can kind of keep looking there, but if you know your personality, like me, I'm always looking for the next trade. Sometimes I'm looking too, it makes me want to do too many trades. And I know when I review my trades, I'm just trading far too much. If I can just refine it back a little bit. So you sort of got to put in good habits there to refine that. So I just know, for me personally, I love the trading too much, that I trade too much. So I'm trying to sort of stop myself from some of those temptations, try and give some rules that are going to keep me in those trades, and then keep some powder dry for when they come back too, because all of a sudden you got your little, like at the moment I've got my little tight little group, watching them pretty closely. They're all performing pretty well. If they spike in a bit of heat, I'll trade some out. Then I pull back, I'll put some back on again. So I've done it a couple of times with a couple of stocks there. I've sort of got set of one position, had a jump, traded some, come back, knocked me out, but it knocked me out. The rest was break even, so I had a small gain. I've now reset that position again because it's come back further and set up even better. So now I've got the same position on, lower entry, tighter risk management, and it's already popped as well. So it's the process, that's the thing. You just got to keep the process nice and tight here. So don't try and trade everything, I guess is probably what I'm trying to say.
Well, that's a good insight to end the week on, is not trade everything and be focused with it. And that then we say thank you very much, Gary Glover from Novus Capital.
Thanks, Chris.
Gary's talked about trading setups, different ways to look at the market, research, inflation research, and so on. There's a playlist on the right on the channel, and then there's also Gary's Tuesday videos where he has his weekly reports for his clients that he fortunately shares with us once a week. Also on the left is his Twitter or his X handle if you want to follow Gary there.